Okay, this is going to be how to score keep for total offense football. You can score keep any way you want. You can make it as simple as you want or as complex as you want. We're just going to do what we recommend, and then you can modify it from there. First, you would start off by putting the teams that are playing. So let's just say Bob is playing Larry. And it would start off in the first quarter, so you'd circle quarter one. The first thing you got to do is determine how long the game's going to be. There are 30 plays in a traditional game, 30 plays per quarter. You can drop that to 25 if you want a little bit shorter game, or 20 plays if you want an even shorter game. That's probably the fewest number of plays we recommend. Every play begins with a kickoff, and so first you do a roll. Each player rolls. Whoever has the highest roll would decide who's going to kick off, and they decide whether they're going to do a traditional kickoff or an onside kick. If you're going to do a traditional kickoff, you would roll all 3 dice, and then you would look on the laminated play sheet that you have to see what happens. For example, if the person kicking off rolls an 8, it would be a touchback. So you would simply put 8, and then the result of the play is a touchback or TB. So in that case, there is no return, and that's all you would have to do. Let's say that there is a return. You would put kickoff, and then we'll say that they rolled a 15. So if they roll a 15, you would look on your sheet, and that would take it to the 5-yard line, which means there would be a return. So for those ones, I just put 5 YL, 5-yard line. Now, in the notes section is where I would put the return. So the receiving team would then roll the 3 dice. They would look on the kickoff return column. Let's say they rolled a 6. 6 would be a 2 dice times 2. And let's say they get 2 dice for a total of 8 times 2 would be 16. So the return is 16 yards. The kickoff was to the 5, so 5 plus 16 means that they get the ball on the 21-yard line. So the next play, it's going to be 1st and 10 on the 26-yard line. And we're going to say that, just for the example, Bob had to kick off to Larry. So Bob kicked off. So it's going to be Larry's ball. So every time it's Larry's ball, I'm going to put his initial next to the play number. Every time it's Bob's ball, I would put a B there, just so you can keep track of who had how many plays and how many possessions. So Larry has the ball, 1st and 10 on his own, the L26, Larry's 26-yard line. And let's say he runs off tackle. So he's going to go off tackle, and he rolls a 13. So he rolls a 13. The result of that is no gain. So you could either put 0 or no gain. And then it's still going to be Larry's ball, but now it's 2nd and 10. Ball's still on the 26-yard line, and he would pick a new play to run. You can only pick the same play 3 times in a row, and then you would have to pick something else to break it up. So he could go off tackle 3 times, do an end run, and then go back to off tackle if he wanted. Okay, now let's say that an onside kick is called instead of a traditional kickoff. You would still put KO for the call, but over on the notes, I would write onside. You don't have to, but it helps keep track of what's going on in the game. On an onside kick, 1 die is rolled. If it's a 6, then the onside kick is good. If it's anything else, the kick is no good. So let's say that if they rolled a 1, then the onside kick would be no good. And let's say Larry was the one that tried the onside kick. Bob would then take over. If the kick is good, so let's say Larry does it and he rolls a 6, then the onside kick is good and Larry retains possession. It would be 1st and 10 on the 50-yard line. And because it's the 50-yard line, you don't have to put B or L because it's midfield. It's neither team's ball. or field, side of the field. So it'd be 1st and 10 for Larry, and it's on the 50, and he would then choose a play and run the play. If the kick was no good, it would then be Bob's ball, 1st and 10 on the 50. The drive would continue for Larry until he either doesn't make a 1st down in 4 plays, or there's a turnover of some kind. So for example, let's say it's Larry's ball and it is 4th and 4 on his own 48-yard line. Okay, 4th and 4 on his own 48. And let's say he runs a short pass, and unfortunately for Larry, he rolls a 9, so it is incomplete, and I would just put INC, it's incomplete. So it was 4th and 4, he turns the ball over to Bob, and so you can write downs to show that he lost the ball on downs if you'd like. You don't have to. The main thing is now it's going to be Bob's ball, and it's 1st and 10, and he takes over wherever Larry had the ball last. So it'd be on Larry's 48-yard line. So other ways that the ball can be turned over, there can be fumbles, there can be interceptions. Let's say that Bob fumbles. So he does an end run, and for the end run, he rolls a 17. And a 17 results in a fumble. So what I would write over here in the notes is fumble, or just FUM if you want. The defense rolls the green die to find out what happened. So the green die is rolled, and if you look at the fumble column on your laminated play sheet, if it's an odd roll, Bob's going to lose the ball. If it's an even roll, Bob will keep the ball. So in this case, let's say a 4 is rolled. So for the fumble, you can write keeps, and he also gains 4 yards. If you look on the laminated play sheet, it shows for a 4, it says keep plus 4 yards. So he keeps the ball and he gains 4 yards. So then the next play is going to be 2nd and 6 from Larry's 44-yard line. So that time there was a fumble, but he kept the ball. Had it been an odd number, he would have lost the ball and Larry would have taken over again. Let's cover an interception. So it's on the 44, and he decides to try a long pass, and for his long pass he rolls a 15. A 15 would then be an interception, or INT. So Bob automatically loses the ball, Larry takes over, but on an interception 25 yards is added. So it would be 1st and 10 for Larry. It would then be 25 yards downfield from the line of scrimmage. So from the 44, that would make it the 19. So Larry has the ball on his own 19-yard line, and then he would choose his next play, and it would go from there. Let's say Larry decides to pass, and he gets sacked. So he's going to do a long pass, and he rolls a 9. So over here, I would write sack. The defense rolls the green die to see what happens. If he rolls a 2, 3, 4, or 5, it's just a loss of downs. If he rolls a 1 or a 6, it results in a fumble. So let's look at, let's say it's a 1. So that would be a fumble. So I'd go, it was a sack, it's turned into a fumble. The green die would be rolled again, and let's say he's going to lose the ball. So he rolled a 5, so you'd say lose, and he lost 5, so it'll be minus 5 yards will be the result of the play. So Bob gets the ball. It's going to be 1st and 10. It was on Larry's 19, but he lost 5 yards. So it's going to be on Larry's 14-yard line. So Bob's got the ball, 1st and 10 on Larry's 14. Okay, let's say that Bob picks up a couple of yards, the next couple of downs, but he's in a long distance situation, doesn't want to risk it, and he wants to kick a field goal. So we're going to bounce ahead to a couple of plays here. Let's say that it is 4th and 3 on Larry's 11-yard line. He wants to kick a field goal. So you would take, it's on the 11, you add 10 yards for the field goal. So he's got to kick a 21-yard field goal. So on the laminated play sheet, you can see that he would have to roll a 6 to a 15, because 6 to 15 is going to be 0 to 30 yards, and he needs 21. So he's going to kick a field goal, and we'll say he rolls a 12, and so the result is that the field goal is good. So you could write GD for good if you wanted, whatever. Over here in the notes, you update the score. So that's the first score of the game. So it's going to be 3-0, and Bob is in the lead. Okay, so that's a field goal. If the field goal was missed, so let's just do this again, but we'll pretend that he misses it. So it's 4th and 3 on the 11-yard line. He kicks a field goal, and let's say he rolls a 5. He rolls all 3 dice, he gets a 5. So it's 5. The kick is no good. And so now Larry will take over, but he gets to take over from the 21. So the 10 yards that are added on for the field goal, those go to the person if it's turned over and down. So now it's going to be Larry's ball, 1st and 10 on Larry's 21-yard line. And he would call his play and go from there. All right, now let's look at a penalty. So let's say Larry's got the ball. It's 1st and 10 on his own 21-yard line. And he decides he's going to run an off tackle, but he rolls a 5. So a 5 is a penalty. So in this case, the defender, Bob, is going to roll the red die and see what happens. If it is an odd number, it's going to be on the defense. If it's an even number, it's going to be in the offense. So let's say this, for an example, we'll do one of each. But let's say this first example, Bob rolls a 2. That would be a 5-yard penalty on the offense. So I'm going to write penalty, or P-E-N, pen. And in this case, it's on the offense, so I'd write off. If it was on defense, I'd write D-E-F. And it was a minus 5 yards because it was 5 yards on the offense. The down stays the same. So the next play would then be 1st and 15. It was on the 21, he lost 5, so now it's on the 16-yard line. So he's going to run an off tackle again, and unfortunately for Larry, he's going to get another penalty. We'll say he rolls another 5, just for example. This time, Bob rolls the die to see what happens. And it turns out he rolls a 5. So penalty is going to be on the defense. So I'd write D-E-F. And it's a gain of 15 yards. Okay? So in this case, he needed 15 yards. He gained 15 yards on the penalty. So Larry is now going to have 1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. And he would call his next play. Let's say the line of scrimmage is on the 8-yard line, and Larry's got the ball on his own 8-yard line, and there's a penalty of 15 yards against him. obviously you can't mark off 15 yards because he's on the 8-yard line. So just like in football, it would be half the distance to the goal. So Larry would have the ball. It would still be, it'd be 1st and 14 because that's half the distance to the goal, and it'd be on the 4-yard line. You need to be careful of throwing a short pass or a long pass when you're down close to the end zone, because just like in college or NFL football, you can throw it and complete it beyond the end zone, in which case it would be an incomplete pass. So let's say, just as an example, it's Larry's ball and it's 2nd and 10, it's on Bob's 16-yard line, and Larry decides to do a long pass. So he rolls the die, he gets a 13, which is 3 dice times 4. That's one of the highest rolls you can get. And he completes the pass, he rolls the die, and the dice say that he completes that pass for 37 yards. Okay, the ball was on the 16. The end zone is 10 yards deep. So the longest pass that could be completed is a 26-yarder. He completed it for 37. The last thing I'm going to show is at the end of the quarter. Let's say there were 20 plays in the quarter, and we ran the last play of the first quarter. It was Bob, 2nd and 3 on Larry's 42-yard line. He ran an off tackle, and let's just say, I don't know what the roll would be, let's say he got 1 yard. And that ended the quarter, because we decided at the beginning we were just going to play a 20 play quarter. So what you would do is at the bottom, this is the first quarter, you would put the score, let's say that it is 3-0 Bob. Okay, at the end of the second quarter, you would write what the score was at the end of the first quarter, 3-0 Bob, and then you would write what the score was at the end of the second quarter. Let's say it's 14-3 Larry. End of the third quarter, you would write 3-0 Bob, 14-3 Larry, and then whatever the score was at the end of the third quarter. Let's say 17-14 Bob. And then at the end of the fourth quarter, you would do the same thing. And you'd write the score at the end of each quarter, and then the score at the end of the game. And we'll just say that Bob hung on, and it was 17-14. And that would then conclude the game, unless you had overtime. And if you want to know about overtime, look in the rules, and it explains how that works. It's basically just like the NFL. All right, there you go. And just remember, you can do as much as you want to do in the notes section as you want. You could even keep stats after each game if you wanted to. Make it as simple as you want, make it as complex as you want. It's totally up to you. Hope you have fun.